welcome everyone back to Beat the Game. This is Steve, and it's going to be Venom, Flash Thompson, understanding the mechanics. So if you guys like these videos, please share, like, subscribe. Hey, we're almost to 1,000 subscribers. I think we're like 28 subscribers away. So guys, if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do so. If you like this kind of content, please give us a big thumbs up. And without further ado, let us continue. All right, so my first game featuring Venom, I did that yesterday, but I did make a few mistakes, and I'm going to talk about those things like that are like, again, when it's your first time playing a new character, it takes a minute to understand and just sometimes just get used to some of the new rulings. Always a good idea to refresh on the rules. As soon as there's an ability or something like that, always go back and look. And I'm going to explain why. So let's take a look at, first of all, at our man Flash Thompson. The art, so first thing I want to say is FFG, the art in the Venom pack is delicious. It is so good. It is very nice. There's not one card that let me just look at Scare Tactics again. Nah, it's all good. Yeah, I think most, like 99% of the cards have fantastic art on it. I'm very, very excited. Like, I look at the cards and I'm like, wow, that looks amazeballs. So for me, it's very important. Artwork in the cards is something that really has a huge impact on how I think I perceive the game. All right, first, why? Don't tell me why, but if the art sucks, sometimes I'm just like, eh. So that's why I was a little disappointed with a couple of cards. Like in the Gamora pack, you know, the Godslayer, the art is terrible. The Condition Room, Drax's Knife. There's a bunch of cards I was like, come on. But again, so for Flash Thompson, fantabulous. All right, so Flash Thompson is a 4 recovery, hand size of 6, 12 hit point hero. He is a soldier, so that's, I think Captain America is the only other soldier. Or is it Captain Marvel? I forget one of them. There's not a lot of soldiers in the trait, so that's pretty cool. He has a passive ability which says you can control an additional upgrade that has the restricted keyword. That's cool because in his kit there's actually 3 restricted items that you want. And so that's very, very important. So you're not forced to discard him. So that's very good. And then this is the first thing that was my first mistake in my first game. Armed and ready. So the setup ability, I'm not a big fan. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan. I do not like discarding cards until I find a weapon. Especially if I haven't seen some of my key cards. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But I know I think my first game I played, I think I discarded 17 cards to get to my first weapon, which was maybe me just bad shuffling because there's a bunch of weapons in his kit. But yeah, so 17 cards, and I'm like, I lost all 3 of my run and guns, Project Rebirth. I lost all my good cards for the Venom pack. So I was just like, yeah, I was very turned off of this ability. But again, you might hit something good on your first card, or it's luck of the draw. So this is something you do not have a choice. You got to do it. So you might discard a card, but you might discard 10, 11, 12 cards from your deck. So that's going to thin out your deck really, really fast. So be prepared, especially if you don't put a lot of weapon upgrades in your deck when you decide to go out of the custom build. Be careful for that because you might just deck yourself out into an encounter card pretty quick. All right, so that being said, when we flip Venom, we are Venom. He has a thwart of 1. He has an attack of 2, a defense of 2. He is a Guardian and a Space Knight. I can't wait to see if they do anything that has to deal with Space Knights. That'd be awesome. But I don't know a lot of Marvel comics that have Space Knights in it. Is he the only one? Maybe, what's his face there? In leadership. What's his Black Knight? No, he's just an Avenger. All right. I figured if there is going to be another knight, it should be Black Knight. All right, and he's black and he's a knight. All right, whatever. So again, you can control 1 additional upgrade. So that is a passive ability on both Alter Ego and Hero side. So they had to write that down because if he didn't have that keyword or that phrase on his alter ego side, then you would actually have to discard one of your restricted items when you flip down to alter ego. So that was smart, very smart. Now, my first game, I also forgot to use this thing, Symbiotic Bond, which is a resource, and I don't know why I didn't read the card. I was just too excited. It was like Venom, and I was just super excited. So resources, take 1 damage. So just to be clear on rulings, so you absolutely have to take 1 damage. So I'm just going to go out there. If you are running energy barrier, is it energy barrier? Yeah, if you're running an energy barrier and you prevent the damage, you will not be able to generate the resource. Okay? Extremely clear. Everything that's on the left of the arrow must be completed for everything on the right side of the arrow to happen. All right? So generate a wild resource once per phase, which means you can do it in the hero phase and you can do it in the villain phase, which is going to be extremely practical for what we're going to do. In hero form, he has a hand size of 5, and again, so technically 6, because you generate that free resource, so that's pretty good. So a hand size of 5 and hit points of 12. All right, let's take a look at some of his key cards that make Venom special. The first card is one of my favorites. This is such a cool alter ego card. It is Project Rebirth 2.0. So this is a 1-cost support card that says alter ego action. Exhaust the Project Rebirth. Choose to either draw a card or heal 3 damage from Flash Thompson. Now, healing 3 damage is huge because he has a recovery of 4. So basically, if you're down to like 3 health, you can, flip down, go to 6, and then go back up to 9, or just go back up to 12 in one shot. You can heal for 7 if you are not exhausted, which is amazeballs. Very, very cool. All right, so in one of the new cards he's introducing, you can even do better than that. So that is also very, very cool. So being able to recover without having to actually use your recovery is good, especially that he wants to take damage because of his symbiotic bond. All right, so that Project Rebirth is a priority card. So this is a very important card for his kit. You want to use that because he has a lot of events that can stun and confuse the villains. So this is going to be very cool because you will have time to flip up and down to alter ego, because Venom does not actually want to stay in alter ego and in hero form all that time. He actually has a lot of things that he can do very, very well in alter ego, and that is one of those key cards. So once you get that, make sure to put that down. It's going to work wonders for your game. All right. Aside from that, as far as upgrades go, he's got 2 copies of Venom's pistols. All right, so that is a 1-cost upgrade. Venom Pistol is a tech weapon. It is restricted. Obviously, you have max 2 restricted cards. Hero Interrupt, and both guns have the same ability. That's why I'm only showing one of them. And they say when you use one of Venom's basic powers. Now, just remember, basic powers is thwart, attack, or defense. So that is going to make him extremely versatile in justice, aggression, or in protection. So that is super, super fun. And then leadership, well, leadership's just leadership. So, but yeah, so that he can add to what he wants. So he can have a 4 defense, a 4 attack, or a 3 thwart. That is very, very solid for a hero. All right. Once he's fully built. Okay. And then he gets +1 to that power for this use. So I really like these guns. They're cheap, and obviously they have some really cool effects. All right. So that is one of, again, it's a very good card. If you see those, put those down. Anything that augments your stats is money. All right. Second card. Here we go. So SpiderSense. There's 1 copy of this in his deck. It is a 2-cost upgrade, SpiderSense. All right, and then Hero Interrupt. It says when the villain initiates an attack against you, draw a card. So basically, that's exactly what Spider-Man does. So what's cool about this is I like that they brought the symbiote because originally it was Spider-Man who had that, and then it kind of evolved into Eddie Brock until actually Flash Thompson, and then Scorpion had it for a while. There's been a bunch of people who got the symbiote. But yeah, the fact that he's got the SpiderSense in there is very, very cool. Now, one of the mistakes I made was the interaction between SpiderSense and one of the other cards is his events, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, so SpiderSense, again, Amazeballs cards. Drawing cards when the villain attacks you is just great. So this is kind of like Spider-Man 2.0, but I think he's just a wee bit better than Spider-Man because of all of the status effects that he can produce out of hand. All right, so SpiderSense, definitely priority, put that on the table. But the most important item that he has is his Multigun. Multigun is a 3-cost upgrade. Tech weapon, it is restricted. You see they didn't put all the phrasing because they had too much text on this, so they just put restricted. Figure out what it means. All right, and then it's a hero action. Exhaust the machine gun, the multi-gun, and choose one of the following. You deal 2 damage to an enemy. That means, which is not an attack. You can choose a player, deal 1 damage to each minion engaged with that player. So that is Amazeballs. If you're playing against Ultron, you can go kill everything. And then remove 2 threat from a scheme. Now, the fact that these are just hero actions but not attack or thwart means you can use this if you are stunned or confused or exhausted. Super, super solid. The multi-gun is definitely the one that you want to get as soon as possible. And there's only obviously 1 copy of that card. All right, now let's look at some of his events. He's got 10 events in his kit. All right, the first one is Locked and Loaded. Now, Locked and Loaded, I like the card. It's not it's cool. I like the artwork on it. Locked and Loaded is a 0-cost event, so it's a tutor for 0, which is great. An action, which means you can do it in alter or hero form. And search your deck for a weapon upgrade and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Now, the only way that card could be a little bit better is if you would actually go through your discard pile as well, so you can actually find and bring back a weapon. Now, why didn't they do it? Who knows? That's the only thing I think I find that is missing on this card is the fact that you could get it from the discard pile. So it's not there. It's just search through your deck. So if you only have like 2 or 3 cards, use this card as a resource. Or if you do not have your multi-gun in your opening hand and you have this card, this is basically go get your multi-gun. Don't be dumb. Get the multi-gun. All right? So Locked and Loaded is a great tutor for that. All right, now let's look at some of his signature events. Now, some of them that are pretty awesome. So he's got an attack, a thwart, and a defense event, and they're all very special. All right, the first one is Savage Attack. 2-cost event. Savage Attack is an attack card. Hero action, attack. Deal 5 damage to an enemy. And if you paid for this using only lightning resources, this attack gains overkill. Now, what I like about this, okay, so one of the things that I really like about this is, yes, it has the physical icon, but to trigger his attack, you do not need physical. You need double lightning to be able to get the bonus for the overkill, which means, like, if I'm playing aggression, I don't necessarily want to be adding a martial prowess because it's not going to help me pay for my savage attack. Again, yes, it will help me pay, but it won't give me the kicker of the double lightning resources. So that's super interesting, and I think I saw some of the comments being like, hey, isn't it weird that you're using a lightning for attack and then a physical for defense? So yes, it's super cool, but I think they didn't want to break. I think Venom is a super strong character, and if it would be the contrary, if it would be a physical resource to trigger that, I think it would just make him way too strong. Because don't forget, symbiotic bond gives you that whatever resource from him. So that's very, very important. Hey, don't forget, you always generate that while. So you only need technically 1 other card. And I think that's what they wanted to go for to get that. So that's super good. All right, so there's 2 copies of Savage Attack. And then here's the thwart event, 2 copies of Behind Enemy Lines. Very interesting card as well. So Behind Enemy Lines is a 2-cost event. Thwart, love the artwork as well. Saying hero action thwart, remove 3 threat from a scheme. Super solid. 2 to remove 3. Kicker, if you paid for this card using only mental resources, confuse an enemy. Now this is, I think, why I think they think, hey, is this a misprint? Because see here, for a thwart card they're using the mental, but for the lightning, for the attack card they're using a lightning, and for the defense card they're using a physical. So this is where I think people think that, oh, maybe they made a misprint. Well, again, I can't speak for the devs, but if it is, then oh my god, that's going to be awesome, because if they switch it up. But this is something that at least you can pay with. If you're playing Injustice and you have Sense of Justice, then it's pretty easy, because you can pay that with your Sense of Justice and with his Wild Resource. So for 1 damage, remove 3 threat and confuse an enemy. There's 2 copies of Behind Enemy Lines. Super solid card. So very, very very much like this card. So again, thwart on a stick, overkill on a stick, and let's see the stun on a stick. All right, here he goes. The second to last event card from his pack. It is Grasping Tendrils, and this is where I made the mistake. All right, so and it's going to be the interaction with SpiderSense. All right, so this was my reasoning for this card. So it says Grasping Tendrils, 2 cost event, defense card, Hero Interrupt. All right, so again, Hero Interrupt, a defense. When the villain initiates an attack against you, okay, cancel that attack. And if you paid for this card using only physical resources, stun the villain. So you see why it feels like the attack should have been the physical and the lightning should be the... All right, so there you go. So that's where I think it's... that's where, again, I think where people think like, oh man, I think they messed those up. Now, for Grasping Tendrils, this is where I was doing wrong, because I was seeing SpiderSense just like Spider-Man. He initiates an attack. But since it's a Hero Interrupt, okay, so what can happen, and this is the correct way to play it. So you have SpiderSense, the villain initiates an attack. All right, and thank you for everyone who clarified that for me, because again, I was grim ruling it that it wouldn't work, but this is the correct way. So you can trigger your SpiderSense, you can draw that card, and if you draw into Grasping Tendrils, you could spend the physical and the other physical if you have it, and you can stun the villain and cancel his attack. But if not, you can still always use it for 2, and you can also just cancel his activation, which is super solid. But the fact that you can have stun if you play for double physical, oh my god, that is just money right there. So that was the interaction. I was playing it wrong again, because I thought, well, if I'm canceling the activation, I shouldn't be allowed to draw a card, because stun cancels or replaces the activation, and that's where my mind was at. But no, it says Hero Interrupt, Hero Interrupt. So both cards are Hero Interrupts, and you can sequence them the way you want. So you can choose to resolve this first and then resolve this second. So there you go. So that is it for Grasping Tendrils. So again, 2 copies of that card. And then finally, last card in his hero kit. Very good card. There's 3 copies of this, which is Run and Gun. So it's a little expensive. It's a 3 cost event, but it does make a lot of sense. 3 cost events, Run and Gun, Hero Action, Skill, okay? Ready Venom, and each weapon upgrade you control. So that, my friends, is pretty bonkers. Once you have both of your Venom's pistols and the Multigun, and that's a free ready, and then you can have a bonus of +2 to whatever stat you have, and you have the Multigun. So if you're doing the math, so if you have the Multigun and the 2 Venom pistols, so you have basically an attack of 4 or a thwart of 3. So you're at 3-4. So then with the Multigun, you can have, you can thwart for 5 or attack for, attack for 5. Wait, what am I doing? Attack for 6 and thwart for 5. Jesus, Steve, do the math. All right, and then if you run and gun, so then you can do that again. So for 3 resources, you can thwart for 10 and attack for 4. Jesus, Steve. 4 + 2 is 6, 12. There you go. Thwart for 10 or attack for 12 in the main turn. So that is very, very solid. Again, if you pair this with Aggression and a Godslayer, that's even better, because then you can just go bonkers and do like 18 damage So 9 and 9. That's super good. For 3, you can't really go wrong. So 3 copies of this. This is obviously not a priority card. This is a mid to late game card. This card is also what's going to save your butt if you happen to get Shadows of the Past and you have your multi-gun. Run and gun will be able to take out all those enraged symbiotes because you'll be able to deal 1 damage to each minion engaged with you, and then you can ready and do that again, and then you can thwart that side scheme for 2. So this is very, very good, especially with all those minions that come in. All right, booyah! All right, so now let's look at some of the Justice cards that are introduced in this pack. All right, so first things first, let's talk about the first event we're going to do. It is an attack event, which is called Scare Tactics. Now, Scare Tactics is a 1-cost event. It is an attack card, which is always good to see, you know, attacks and justice. Hero action attack. Deal 3 damage to a confused enemy. Now, and we already saw with Venom that we have the ability to confuse him with our thwart event. We have the ability to stun him. So the Scare Tactic, 1 for 3 damage. It is not the best. It's very situational. It is an okay card. I think Branch showcased a deck, I think today, where he had like 9 confuse events and he was running Swift Retribution and Scare Tactics to try to deal the damage and justice. So again, is it possible? Yes. Is it optimal? I think it's an okay card. I don't think it's a great card per se. I don't think, unless you have a hero that has that innate ability. I'm thinking Spider-Woman, I'm thinking Hawkeye, I'm thinking, who else am I thinking about that can, you know, confuse? Doctor Strange, who can confuse. But again, once you're with these heroes, most of the time they have better cards to play than Scare Tactics. So for me, it's an okay card in Justice that was introduced. Nothing too fancy about it. All right, now let's talk about making an entrance. All right, making an entrance. This though is one of my new favorite cards for Justice because it does something that Justice did not do, and that is heal. So we had healing in all of the other aspects. We had Moment of Triumph, Momentum Shift, 2 cards that start with M. All right, and then we had in so Moment of Triumph in Aggression, Momentum Shift in Protection. And then is it United We Stand in Leadership. All right. So we had 1 healing card for each aspect. Obviously, I mean, Protection had a couple of other cards though, but this is focus on what you want to be doing and heal. So let's read the card. 1 cost event, making an entrance. Skill, Hero Interrupt. When your hero makes a basic thwart, it gets +2 for that thwart. After that thwart ends, so many thwarting, all right, ends, if your hero removed all threat from a scheme, that way heal 2 damage from your hero. Now, what's cool about this card is you can stack these, all right, which is very awesome. So you can stack these. If you do, you get +4 to your thwart. So 2 to get +4 thwart is pretty good, or 1 to get +2. Is still very good, and then you heal 2, heal 4, you could heal 6 if you play all 3 in your turn, obviously, and then you get +6 thwart. That's pretty amazing. Now, one thing to remember, it is only for that thwart. So if you're playing a character like Captain America, so you would get the +2 on the first thwart, and then if you do that all day, you're not going to get the bonus for the second one. So that's something to remember within the rules. All right, but making an entrance, very cool looking card. It looks like Daredevil. I'm pretty sure it's Daredevil. I think it's in his like black costume there. Such a nice art. So good. I'm just sad there's no flavor text on that card. I would have liked to see what it said. All right, here we go. Sonic Rifle. So this is Hello Iron Man. It is a tech card, weapon card. It is cost of 3. It is an upgrade. So it is a little expensive, but it is a Sonic Rifle, which again is going to combo really well with Scare Tactics. I think that's why they introduced it together. And it is a restricted item, so obviously you can only have 2 of those. And it uses 2 charge counters. So just remember, guys, every time that something has the word uses, Once there is no more counters on it, that goes to the discard pile. All right. So hero action, exhaust sonic rifle, and remove a charge counter from it. Then confuse an enemy. But if the enemy is already confused, you get to deal 3 damage instead. So that is pretty cool because it can be a little versatile. Obviously, you never want to use it for the damage unless you're finishing off the villain or you're finishing off the enemy. If not, it's confuse on a stick. Like, all right, this is a great card for multiplayer because, and again, you can have 2 of those into play. So that would give you 4 confusions. So okay, you need to go down this turn. All right, perfect. You go down, villain's confused. And then I'll use my next one, villain's confused. And then I'll use my next one, and then I'll discard it. And that's so good. And so if you're thinking about awesome cards, if you have the battery packs with Rocket Raccoon, well, then you can just play one of those and just keep feeding this every turn and just keep it in play all the time. So that is something very cool and something to think about for when you're building with the other characters. So Sonic Rifle, great new card, a little expensive, but for what it does, it should be 4. It's right there. It's a good price. It's a good cost for that. All right, and that is the last card. Aside from that, we are going to get our first new ally in a while. So Jack Flagg, 4-cost ally. He is a guardian. His name is Jack Harrison, also as known as Jack Flagg. Superb art on it as well. Super cool. If you guys are a fan of Jim Lee's Wildcats, doesn't he look like Grifter? I think he's such a Grifter knockoff, or Grifter was knocked off from him. Who knows which one came first? My bet is on Jim Lee. But yeah, so Jack Flagg, I really think he looks like Grifter way too much. All right, so he's a 4-cost ally. He's got 2 thwart with 1 consequence damage, 1 attack with 1 consequence damage. He is a guardian. He has a 3 health, and he has a response. After Jack Flagg thwarts, place an ammo counter on him. Ooh, interesting. What do you do with these ammo counters? Well, here, I will tell you. Hero action, exhaust Jack Flagg and remove an ammo counter from him. Deal 2 damage to an enemy. Now, all in all, is this good? So I just think he's kind of like a worse Daredevil. So he's okay. So if you compare apples to apples, Jack Flagg to Daredevil, they both cost 4. They both have 3 health. They both thwart for 2. All right, except that Daredevil attacks for 2 as well. And Daredevil has a response. After he thwarts, he deals a damage. So what's cool about it is he can thwart for 6, deal 3 damage. Jack Flagg can thwart for 6 and do can thwart for 6 and do 4 damage. But that's over 5 turns. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, over 5 turns. So Daredevil does what he can do in 3 turns, and then that ping damage, which is a response. For me, Daredevil is just just a wee bit better. I prefer Daredevil to this guy. He's not bad. And obviously, if you're playing Spider-Woman, there's some cool combos that you can play. If you play Leadership and Justice, so what you can do is you can increase his health, and then you can thwart for 2, get him ready, and then deal 2 damage, and then do it again, and then do it again. So you can thwart, deal damage on the same turn, but that's like a janky build that only Spider-Woman can do. Is it good? It's okay. It's not amazing. It's just okay. But it's a cool interaction that Spider-Woman can have with this character, which is cool. All right, so Jack Flagg, again, he's pretty good, but I think he's just a little bit worse Daredevil. But he's a Guardian, so if you want to build Guardian attacks and Guardian allies and stuff like that, and you want to be super thematic, well, at least he's a Guardian. All right, moving on. All right, let's look at some of the new cards that are presented in the basic aspect. All right, let's look at Side Holster. Now, this is one of my new favorite cards, and do you know why? Because it's a deck thinning card. That's right, boys and girls. 0 cost upgrades are money. Now, I love the fact that it's not a Guardians only card. That would have killed it for me. But the fact that it's for anyone is brilliant. So now we have, if you are one of these people like I am, who likes to really thin out their deck super quick, well, Side Holster and Honorary Avengers, if you're playing an Avenger character, that's 6 cards you can get out of your deck for a cost of 0, which is amazing. And if you're playing in some of the other aspects like leadership, there's a couple of other cards that you can put for 0 and really, really thin out your deck super, super fast. So again, this for me is a definite awesome card. 0 cost upgrade. Side Holster is an item, and it says play under any player's control, which is money, and it's a max once per player. Obviously, you can control an additional weapon upgrade that has the restricted keyword. Is there anything better, anything more that needs to be said? Even if the other people don't need it, who cares? If you're going to be playing a deck that wants the deck thin, throw 3 of these and just throw it on everyone. Well, obviously, if you're playing a 3 or 4 player game, or if you're just playing a 2 player game, just add 2 in your deck and you're fine. So for me, Side Holster, beautiful card. Great for Rocket, great for Thor, great for, who's the other guy who has a lot of weapons there that are restricted? I'm trying to remember. Thor, no, Black Panther, they're not restricted. Whatever, you know what, I'm having a brain fart, so I'm trying to think. So obviously Venom, he's got so many weapons. Gamora. Gamora has Gamora's sword, and then if you want to put the Godslayer in Gamora, so yeah. So anybody who has restricted items, Side Holster is going to be money for them. All right, so here we go. Next one. It is another restricted item. It is another weapon, and this is a 2 cost upgrade. It is called a Plasma Pistol. It is another tech weapon. Hello, Iron Man. So this is great because it is a basic card. Even though it is not good, it is a tech card that you can play in the Iron Man deck. So right now, the fact that it is a basic, if you're going protection, you can actually have an Iron Man with like 15, almost, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost 15 cards that are tech upgrades that are not his armor. So you are going to go up to 7 cards extremely fast. Iron Man just got a big boost with this set. So this is one of the cards that is responsible for that. So 2 cost upgrade. Plasma Pistol is a tech weapon, restricted, and it has the keyword uses, remember what it means, with 3 charge counters on it. It is a hero action. Exhaust Plasma Pistol and remove a charge counter from it. Deal a damage to an enemy. So this is basically 3 damage for 3 cost, a real 3 cost. So is it good? It's okay. What is this? This is basically a tough remover. So that is all you want to use this for. Just you keep this on the table, you put it down, you forget about it, and you use it when an enemy is tough. There you go. Ping the tough off, and then forget about it. So is this a great card? Is this going to see play in a lot of decks? I don't think so. I think it's going to see play in a few decks, not a lot. I think I'm only thinking Iron Man right now that actually wants to run this card, just because it's a tech weapon. And again, I don't even think he wants to run 3 of them. I think he might just want to run 1 or 2, just to make sure that he gets. The fact that it's a lightning ball would maybe make it 3, because then you can really go the energy repulsor blast ray, and have at least a few extra lightning cards. So again, this is an Iron Man card. I can't say it otherwise. This was a card made for Iron Man decks, and aside from that, I don't see it being played with anybody else. That makes a lot of sense. But again, I can be proven wrong, so please, if you see something for Plasma Pistol that makes sense, because it is restricted, that is why I don't like it. It's restricted. If it wasn't restricted, it'd be great. But the fact that it's restricted really brings it down a little bit. I have no idea why they would restrict this card. Makes no sense. All right, and then finally, we got a Starlord, our ally, 2 cost ally, Starlord, Peter Quills, 2 thwart, 1 consequence damage, 2 attack, 1 consequence damage with a little star, which means, read what the star says, Starlord's attack gained range. Now, finally, that makes sense, because he has, what's it called, those, what is his guns called again? Gatling guns? What is his guns called? Oh man, I'm so dumb. I forgot what his guns are called. Element gun. Ah, there you go. They're element guns. I'm like, why wouldn't Peter Quill? I like that they have piercing. Don't get me wrong, but why don't they have range? Or why doesn't one gun have piercing and one gun have ranged? Or why don't they have both, piercing and ranged? It makes no sense. It's a gun. It's a gun. A gun shoots. Why are you taking damage from when using an element gun? All right, so that is just beyond me. But here we go. We have he is a guardian. So he has 3 health. So a 2/2 with 3 health is pretty good. And then he has a force response. Of course, he's got a force response. And guess what it is? After Starlord enters play under your control, deal yourself a face down encounter card. Now this, like again, he's a cool ally if you want to run like all the guardians. I personally don't think it's worth the encounter card, even though he's a 2-cost ally. For me, it's basically even if you make the call or you rapid response him, he still comes into play with another encounter card. So, if only it was written if you play him from your hand, that'd be great, because then you can do that little combo without taking those extra cards. But so the fact that as soon as he comes into play, he deals you a face down encounter card. So for me, he's not that great of an ally. But the fact that he's ranged, it's debatable. It's definitely debatable if he's worth it. All right. Now let's take a look at some of the new cards that are presented that are not included in the hero pack or in the 40 pre-con deck. So the first card we're going to see is an aggression card that has all to do with weapons and Venom on a motorcycle. Man, if he had a flaming skull, that'd be Ghost Rider. All right. But that's a cool bike. Yeah, I know Ghost Rider would be jealous. It's a cool looking bike. All right, so fusillade, and that is a French word, en passant, fusillade. It is a 2-cost event that says attack, hero action. It is an attack. Exhaust a weapon upgrade you control. Deal 5 damage to an enemy. So that is super cool. It is a 2-cost to exhaust a weapon for 5 damage. Now, this is definitely a Black Panther card, because Black Panther does not, and I repeat, does not exhaust his weapons when he's doing his Wakanda Forevers. So this is definitely a card for him. Again, it's good for others, but what's that new one? Pulse Grenade as well, that came in Starlord's kit, I think, Pulse Grenade. So that is one that you can just throw on the table and have these fusillades available. So this is a great card to make use of stuff that's just there that you want to kind of set up a weapons themed deck. I think it's cool. Is it amazing? It's okay. Again, I don't think it's gonna be like, oh my god, look at this weapons deck, man. It's gonna blow. But I really think that with Black Panther, this card is gonna be amazing. All right, because then you have like the mean swings and fusillade, so you can definitely use his weapons for multi-purposes. So I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, so here we go. So fusillade, great new card. Hey, next one is a protection card. Now this is another weird card, and I don't know why they made it only for Guardians, because then that means it's only good for one character. It is called 1-cost event, Shake It Off. I can't sing. What is that chick's name there that sings that song though? Alright, and then Shake It Off is a skill. Hero response after a Guardian character, man. Well, as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, this is a Drax card. Alright, takes any amount of damage from an attack. Give that character a tough status card. So, if we're going to be honest here, Drax is the only probably Guardian that we are playing. Anyway, from what I've seen, and so from what is available right now, Drax is the only one that's, makes protection make sense, if you know what I mean. I don't think Rocket Raccoon playing him in protection is all that amazing. It's okay, but it's not like, oh my god. And Groot doesn't take damage. So he's not taking damage because of his growth counters. So even though he's on the card, it doesn't make sense for Groot. So, and then Gamora? Well, Gamora's not really playing protection that often. But again, I could see this in a Gamora deck, but it's not an attack or a thwart event. So are you going to be running these in a Gamora deck that's looking for attack or thwart events? And Peter Quill. Well, Peter's a leadership guy, so like Starlord leadership or Starlord aggression. Starlord protection doesn't really like be like, oh wow, Starlord protection, amazing. No, exactly. So I think this is just basically it's a Groot maybe / Gamora card. Again, we still haven't seen Nebula. And do we know if Valkyrie is a Guardian as well? I don't know if Valkyrie is a Guardian and an Asgardian. So we'll have to see what she plays like. And all right, so here we go. So Shake It Off for me it's a great card for Drax. This would have been a great card for Hulk. It would have been a great card for a lot of characters. But the fact that it's a Guardians only does not impress that much. All right, and then here we go. Last card here for leadership. And then we got the basic card is Welcome Aboard, a zero-cost event. Play only if your identity has the Guardian trait. So another Guardian-only card. So, again, this is a Peter Quill card. I'm like, who else are you going to be playing this with? I'm like, hero action. Reduce the resource cost of the next ally played this phase by 2. Now, the only saving grace to this card, all right, where I think it's really interesting, is the fact that you can play that for anyone. So if you're playing in a multiplayer game, you can say, here, buddy, you need 2 resources? Oh, yeah, I could get Nick Fury out. Oh, you know what? Nick Fury makes sense here. Here, take my discount of 2. Great. But if you're playing this on yourself in solo, I don't think Welcome Aboard is going to be all that amazing. It's a reduction of 1. So, and it's an event. So here's where I see it makes sense. If you're running all the cheap allies like Squirrel Girl, Maria Hill, Hawkeye, and you're just chump blocking, and you're just running, what's her face there? The dog, Cosmo the dog, and all the other ones. So you're basically discarding this card to play your dog for free, and then you get other resources to play something else, or Ironheart. And so I'm trying to think of all the 2-cost allies that make sense here. But again, this is a Peter Quill card. So you use that, and then with your rebate of 3 plus a rebate of 2, then finally you got a rebate of 5. So that's amazing. But aside from that, aside from Peter Quill, who's running this? I don't, like I said, I'm like, Rocket in leadership is okay, but it's not special. Now I'm trying to find like special interactions with some of these cards that would be like, ooh, this is such a, but yeah, this is a Peter Quill card for me. I don't see it being for anybody else. Again, maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe I got to play test this card a little bit, but it's basically a reduction of 1. So at that point, I'd rather run a team building exercise, and I got at least it's permanent on the table, and I don't have an event card just in my deck all the time. So that's for me for that. All right, and then the last card is another basic card sensation, which I love my basics. This is Crew Quarters, 1-cost support card, location, play under any player's control, max once per player. Love this. This is between the side holster and the Crew Quarters and the Honorary Avenger. This is like, you can have like nine cards in your deck that you're just getting rid of on your first deck pass. So that for me is just amazeballs. And it is not a Guardians only card, so which is a fantastic. Play alter ego action, exhaust Crew Quarters, heal a damage from an alter ego. So which is great is if you're an alter ego, you can get that +1. I'm like, and then if it's somebody else's turn and you're an alter ego, hey, if you go down, I'll heal you for 1. Cool. So this is very good for social dynamics and just like really, really feeding off the other players. For me, this Crew Quarters, fantabulous. Such an amazing card. Love this very, very much. So that is it for the cards. Now let's look at his obligation, and then let's look at the side scheme and Nemesis. All right, so his side scheme is pretty cool. As his side scheme, his obligation, sorry, his struggle for control. Now, I love this card. Give it to the Flash Thompson guy, and he has to choose. Okay, you can flip to alter ego, which is great. All right, if you have your project Rebirth out and everything, then you can have some fun with that. Oh, phone's ringing. What the heck is this? Is this important? All right, don't care. All right, and then exhaust Flash Thompson and take 2 damage. Discard this obligation, not remove. So I played that wrong in my first game. I thought you take the 2 damage and just get rid of it. But no. It's take 2 damage and discard it. Now, this is something I definitely suggest that you do not do. You're like, why? Why wouldn't I do that? Because it's better to put 1 set-aside copy of the Enraged Symbiote into play, engage with the first player. And if you can't, this card gains Surge, and discard this obligation. Why? Okay, because Venom's Nemesis is 4 Enraged Symbiotes. So that means if you are like me and you get your Shadows of the Past on turn 1 or turn 2, that is going to bring out 4 of your Nemesi all at once. Now, the great thing about this is you can bring 1 at a time. Now, if you have bringing them 1 at a time, that is amazeballs. Just make sure that, let's say the game goes long enough that you see 3 times and you haven't seen your Shadow of the Past, or if you do see your Shadow of the Past, get these guys into play. Get them. They're only, what is it these guys called? So these guys are just like, they're 1-2 guard patrol, and they come into play every time. So, and with only 2 health. So these guys are just chump change. All right, these guys, they're monkeys that do nothing. All right, they're easy bait to remove. But if you get your Nemesis, and they all come out of the same once, then it's a problem. All right, so definitely struggle for control. Do whatever you want, but big suggestion, just put 1 of those guys into play and then just ignore it, because again, the consequence of Shadows is going to be a lot less than just dealing with 1 of them at a time. All right, so that being said, all right, here we go. Flip that up. Let's look at his Nemesi. So there is 4 copies, and this is what I was saying. There's 4 copies of these Enraged Clowns. Enraged Symbiotes. 1 scheme, 2 attacks, Symbiotes, 2 health, guard patrol. And while this minion is engaged with you, you cannot thwart the main scheme. And you cannot, obviously guard, you cannot attack the villain. So, and then they have a boost ability that says put the Enraged Symbiotes into play engaged with you. So again, there's 4 of these. If you get them on your Shadows of the Past, all 4 of them will come out in front of you. So that is why I told you with the your obligation, don't do the 2 damage. Flip down if you have the Project Rebirth, but just put 1 into play, engage with you. Because then if you get your Shadows, then, oh, there you go, there's only 3 coming in. Or, oh, there's only 2 coming in. That is going to make it a lot easier to deal with again. And then finally, his side scheme that comes out if you get your Shadows is Clintar's Frenzy. Is it Clintar? Yeah, Clintar's Frenzy. So this is a 3-pip. It is a side scheme and 2 per player with an additional encounter card, additional hazard icon. And it says threat cannot be removed from the scheme while a symbiote enemy is in play. Now that is very, very annoying, because if you're playing in solo and all 4 of these clowns come out, well, you're definitely taking extra encounter cards unless you have that run and gun, which I explained a little bit earlier in the video. So this is, again, it's not the worst side scheme. It's just a little, you need a workaround. You need to make sure that there's not that many minions into play to be able to get rid of that. So for me, Venom, very cool new character. I saw Banana Crapshoot's tier list, and he was up there with Doctor Strange. Now, maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. I guess he generates some resources. I don't see how he's an S tier hero. He's definitely a pretty good hero. He's not my favorite to play. again, I'm trying to shy away from the stun locking and confusion. I'm trying to mentally prepare for Thanos here. I think he's pretty good. He's got some cool effects, some cool abilities. He's definitely like a cool version of a little bit better version of Spider-Man. I'm very interested to see what he can do in the different aspects, which I'm going to try to play probably tonight or tomorrow, and then I'll probably add to this like a couple of deck lists just to see like, hey guys, try this out. I looked it up. I did build an aggression deck that I was really, really happy with the God Slayer and the run and guns and the combat training, which I was hitting for 18, which was really fun once I was all set up. But aside from that, I think it's kind of weird. I feel like he's going to be very unidirectional. I don't think he's going to have anything that would be like, oh my god, try this deck. It's just the funnest. I think it's going to be like, okay, Multigun is your key card. This is what you're going to do. So I feel like creatively, Venom's going to be a little bit more challenging for me, like at first look there. But yeah, he does have some cool features. Like he doesn't have these giant burst attacks, but he does have a couple of cool things, So I'm like, oh, I can't really, abuse of momentum shift. Not like, he's not doing that much damage with overkill. He doesn't have this, and I'm like, I was just trying to play like off the cards that are available. I'm like, what does he really want to play? What does he want to do? I'm like, so for me, it's a deck thinning deck. So Venom is going to be one of those characters where I'm going to not throw that many events in his deck because his events do it all. So they actually do everything that Venom needs to do in a very economical fashion. All his cards cost 2 except for the run and gun. So again, just trying to figure out what you can play around that. And again, I think that's part of the challenge with every new character, trying to figure out fun ways and thematic ways and original ways to see what he can do and that. So guys, that is my breakdown. I hope you like this video. If you haven't done it yet, please press that like button. If you're still here, you're my hero. I think I stole that from Late Night Gaming. Thank you guys. And then again, so I hope this breakdown of understanding the mechanics for Venom will help you beat the game. Ciao, ciao.